course, you're the only one here that knows it by heart, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope I'm not the only one, but there's a strong possibility that I am. Manly tears. Because some of you that know me for a long time know this. That I prayed for this moment, for this spot, for this moment, for many, many years. Many years ago, God gave me a vision for taking men to the desert, to this place, and challenging them with the concept of Masada. I hope that you watch the video that explains what Masada is. If not, get that when you can and watch that. But the key, the punchline of that story is that it was a tragic thing that happened on top of Masada to several thousand Jews that, rather than being taken into captivity, committed mass suicide. And today, but when the Romans got up there, was a hollow victory after months of trying to get up there and get them. They were all dead. To be an officer in the Israeli army, which arguably is the most amazing military force on the planet. And we talk about that America's got the strongest military, but Israel has never lost. To go up against 15 other nations, to not even be a country and go up against 15 nations and in 7 days have victory, that's amazing. And it's because of the mindset, it's because of the character. To be an officer in the Israeli army, before you're commissioned, you have to climb Masada. And you drive a stake in the ground and you swear, never again. Never another Masada. It's like Remember the Alamo, if you've read that. And this is our Masada, to say, Satan, never again will you take my family. Never again will you take our country. Never again will, as long as I have breath, I will fight to protect my family, to protect my country, to protect generations to come, in the name of Jesus. And so several years ago, God gave me this vision to bring some men here every year and challenge them to stand, to make a commitment for the following year, to stand for their families, to stand for their country. And I tried for a number of years to put it together, and it fell through every time. Or I was just a flake. 3 years ago, where's Scott and Shane? 3 years ago, I said to several guys, I said, I'm going. If anybody shows up or if nobody shows up, I'm going. This is when I'm going. If you'll be there, be there. Scott and Shane came. Remember that? It's 3 of us 3 years ago. And we made this commitment. Last year we had a number of guys and they came. How many of you were here last year? 4. All new guys. 4 guys from last year. So I envision someday 10,000 men, porta potties everywhere, NBC helicopter going, we can't figure out what's going on in the desert. There's
We're gonna need a bigger screen.
10,000 men. Yeah, we'll need a bigger screen. 10,000 men out here in the desert. Now, by design, in fact, honestly, I gave more information this year than I've ever given the 2 previous years. By design, it was to be not much information, not much preparation, not knowing what to do, not knowing, just barely how to get here. Last year, guys showed up in the middle of the night, driving around looking for it, right? There's a reason for that, because this is not a comfort retreat. It's not primarily a fellowship time, though all that stuff happens. And already I just had some good fellowship with some of you already this afternoon, some that came early in that. But it's designed for much deeper than that. It's designed not about us. What's that? That's awesome. See? But for us to make this commitment for our families. Now, who is this for? How many of you here tonight are men? I believe we have 100%. Because the Bible talks about that. How many of you are married men? Okay, how many unmarried? All right. Okay. Doesn't matter. Because your calling and your vision and what we do about this calling, this vision. So this says vows for husbands and vows for wives on the other side. If you're not married, it's still your vows. Because the vision and the concept and what we're trying to accomplish. Why? Because this is about the next 5 generations. Let me be a little more conservative. Let's say the next 3 generations, okay? I'm pretty optimistic. Let's say the next 3 generations. Whether you're married or unmarried, have a family or don't have a family, it's still your responsibility for us to influence the next 3 generations. You think our country's in trouble? How many of you think our country's in a little bit of trouble? Yeah, good. We're not going to get it back through politics. I don't care who we get in office, and we want the right guy in office. I'm not going to tell you who that is, the right guy in office. But it's not about that. It's not going to happen through social change or cultural change. God designed it to come through the family, to come through His family, to come through the church, to come through God's people. If my people that are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked way, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and heal their land. So that's why we're here. And I hope in the next 18 hours, however long we got left on this 24-hour journey, that somehow I can effectively challenge you and inspire you to want to leave here and be committed to next year, be committed to these vows, to stand, to fight for the next 3 generations that we can turn this thing around. So, I have a difficult question for you. Before we watch our movie together, I want to ask you this question. Are you a fully devoted follower of Christ? Amen. Don't be too quick to answer. Are you a fully devoted follower of Christ? Amen. Some of you, when asked that question, immediately began a checklist in your mind. Let me see. I haven't been praying that much. I haven't. Some of you in your mind, your answer was, well, I want to be. Right? Anybody think that? Well, I want to be. I try to be. I want to be a fully devoted follower of Christ, right? That's part of why I'm here, right? So we want to be. And you're probably running a checklist. Let me see. I don't read my Bible as much as I should, right? I don't tell people about Jesus as much as I should. I don't pray as much as I should. You checklist off the big 5, right? Bible study, prayer, church attendance, evangelism, tithing. See, the big 5. And according to that checklist, you decide, well, I'm not really a fully devoted follower quite yet. Okay? So I got a message for you from the boss. I want this to come directly from Jesus. Not just from the Bible, which is all his words, but I mean when he was in the flesh here on this planet, the physical body, Jesus, what he said. A whole bunch of people came to see him. Right? Imagine if we had a big campaign. Imagine if I said to you next year, I want to get 10,000 men here. And you brought neighbors and friends, and somehow you got them to get here. You tricked them because you believed it was good, and you got them here. And you were so excited for them to hear a wonderful, inspirational message to tell them how awesome it is to follow Jesus. Because that's kind of what happened here. This large crowd gathered to hear Jesus. Hopefully I got a little bit of light here that I can read this. But yeah, you know what? If I could, that would be awesome. I meant to grab mine, and I left it in my deal. Okay, so let's see what Jesus said about being a fully devoted follower of his. We call it a disciple. Here's what he said. These big, large crowds, it says, now large crowds were going along with him. And he said to them, if anyone comes to me and he doesn't hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sister, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. How would you like finally get your friend or your buddy or your family to finally come to church? And that was the sermon. By the way, if you don't hate your mother and father and brothers and sisters and stuff, they're going to, oh wow, what cult did you get me hooked up with? Right? That's what he said. Now, listen, I don't want to get too sidetracked in the fact that if you look in the Greek and stuff, the word there, hate, it's a comparative word. It's meaning, he's saying, look, the way you love me compared to how you love them, it's like hate. Right? He's not saying go hate your mother. But he's saying compared to how you love me, hate them. That's how strongly you love me. It's still just as strong. I don't want to get too carried away in that because it says what it says. He said it that way for a reason, right? But wait, there's more. Whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Anybody know what a cross was for? What was a cross for? What's that? Killing. Not just killing. Torture. The most horrible kind of it. Sometimes, you know, because we read about the crucifixion of Jesus, which was relatively quick, we forget that some people held on for days and even weeks hanging on a cross before they died. Excruciating, torturous death, slow death. Are you kidding me? How much of the crowd do you think was left at this point? So if you don't take up your cross, carry your own cross and follow me, you cannot be my disciple. For which one of you, when he wants to build a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see if he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he's laid a foundation and is not able to finish it, all who observe begin to ridicule him. It's kind of like the 15 interchange off the 91. Or the high-speed rail to San Francisco. A lot of ridicule going on, because it's how many years they've been working on that. Or says this man was not able to begin to build, wasn't able to finish. Or what king, when he sets out to meet another king in battle, will not first sit down and consider whether he's strong enough with 10,000 men to encounter the one coming against him with 20,000 men? Otherwise, while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and asks for the terms of peace. Wow. So, none of you can be my disciple who does not give up all his own possessions. One of my favorite preachers at this point, he'd say, if you can't say amen, you better say ouch. What does he mean? So are you telling me, am I telling you by this, gosh, is it bad for me to own a car? Should I not have a cell phone? Am I supposed to just get rid of everything and live in poverty? A lot of people have taken it that way. St. Francis of Assisi, anybody know about him? He read this and he took it so literally, he took an oath of poverty. He said, I can't live that way. If I'm going to follow Christ, I want to just not have anything. No, that's not what he's saying. What he's saying is, if you really want to be a fully devoted follower of Christ, what it really means is simply to have an attitude, to have a passion, to have a mindset that says, nothing is more important to me than following Jesus. Is Jesus preeminent? It's not about the checklist. And let me make sure you're hearing me clearly. I despise guilt. If anybody here is feeling guilty right now, like I'm beating up on you or trying to make you feel guilty that you're not good enough or you're not following hard enough or you don't have enough passion, then you're missing what I'm saying. I don't like guilt. But I'm deeply fond of conviction. Guilt is a feeling about being sorry, about, feeling bad about yourself. Conviction is not, the conviction about this is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking about yourself less. You get what I'm saying? I don't want you to feel guilty. No, it's the other way around. What he's saying to them is, look, I need you to understand, if you follow me, here's the price. Everything. It will cost you everything. If you want to follow me and really be my disciple, it will cost you everything. If you really want to know me, it will cost you everything. And in order for us to understand these vows that we're going to go through tomorrow and understand what it means to make that vow, tonight I wanted you to just grasp the understanding that this was a hard saying, and the truth is many of that crowd thinned out. They left, they went home. I was talking with Pastor David about this week, and he brought up a great point. He was talking about, you remember the rich young ruler that came to Jesus and said, what can I do to have eternal life? You remember what Jesus told him?
Sell it all.
He said, go sell everything you have and give it to the poor. One of the saddest verses in the Bible. It says, the man went away sorrowful, for he had many possessions. Now, do you think Jesus really needed for that guy to sell everything he had? That's not how you get to heaven. Then why did he tell him that? Because what he was telling him is, for you to get to heaven and be born again, I need to be your God. I need to be everything. I need to be the Lord of your life. And Jesus knew the man's heart and knew if he wasn't willing to give that up, then he certainly wasn't willing to confess that Jesus was everything. So to be truly a fully devoted follower of Christ, it's a decision. It's a decision. It's not a checklist. It's not a grade that you get to say how good you're doing at it. If we're doing a checklist, I'm going to tell you right now, I flunk. Because I'm not doing this stuff. I'm not living the life for Jesus that I want to live. But I know the decision of my heart. I know the passion of my life. I want to know Jesus Christ more than I want to breathe. I want to be His follower. I want to please Him more than I want to please any man or woman on the planet. He's more important to me than my wife is. He's more important to me than my children and my grandchildren. He's more important to me than my car or my cell phone. And I have a Samsung S7. He's more important to me than everything. Now, do I always look like that? Do I always live that way? No. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm not asking you if everybody could always see clearly that you're a fully devoted follower of Christ. But have you counted the cost and made a decision and said, all I know is I'm not going to stop, I'm not going to rest, I'm not going to give up until I know Jesus. And He's more important than anything. So, I ask you again, are you a fully devoted follower of Christ?
Amen.
Yes. I got a long ways to go so that people would look at my life and know that that's true. But God knows my heart. I've counted the cost. I know that if it takes losing everything to follow Jesus, I will do it. And guess what? We're coming to a time in America that in most other places in the world, Christians have known for quite a while. You know how many Christians are in prison right now all over the world for their faith? We don't hear about it a lot, but there's many. You know how many Christians have been killed by ISIS? Did you see the video where ISIS stood up a group of 10-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old children and told them that if they did not deny Jesus Christ, that they would be killed? And one by one, each of those children stood for Christ. This is probably two years ago that this was out. Can you believe that? You think any of us have had to make any choice like that? See, those kids were fully devoted followers of Christ. They counted the cost. And they stood tall. And America's coming to a place where we may come to that place where it literally may cost you everything. And I'm just saying, count the cost. So what I want to do tomorrow, we're going to get up in the morning. And this is all about freedom. That's what this movie's about, freedom. Real freedom. The freedom that comes from being a bond slave of Jesus. How many of you know that being a slave to Jesus equals the greatest freedom you'll ever experience? Freedom is not the right to do what I want. Freedom is the ability to do what I should. Very different thing, isn't it? Are we free in this country? I don't think so. I think we're a slave to our passions. I think we're a slave to money. I think we're a slave to possessions. Only in being a fully devoted follower of Christ can you find real freedom. That's why I want us to watch this movie, because we'll see an illustration of what it means to find real freedom that comes from selling out to a cause that's greater than yourself. And in our case, that cause is the Lordship of Jesus Christ. And so in the morning, we're going to be going through these vows. We'll do an overview here after breakfast. We'll do an overview of why these are important and what we're doing with these, and the whole essence of being a man of God. And then we were going to be hiking together down into the canyon. There's those that can't climb. There's an alternate route. We'll show you that you can go around, and it'll be Mike and Alex did that for us today. Where's Mike and Alex? All right, they paved the way for us today. Was that doable, you guys? You think anybody here could make that path you took? Yeah, you can make it. Even if you have a difficult time walking or anything, you can make that way. And you will connect together at the bottom of this cliff and the long climb. And then there's 3 different sections where we'll stop and go through each of the sections of these vows together. I'll share with you what those are, and have some testimonies from some of you about these. And then when we get back up to the top of the canyon, we'll shout these vows together. And I want them to hear it back home as we make this pledge before God to do that. So that's what we're going to do. So we're gonna go ahead, and give me just a second. I'll switch this over and get the projector set up and focused and everything, and then let's watch this together. The temperature's dropping a little bit, but I think so. Does anybody want to get some fires going while I'm getting that prepared?
I got that.
And hopefully we'll see that and be able to hear good. But talk to each other about your struggles in being a fully devoted follower of Christ, and we'll share that together in the morning to see how we can help each other do that. All right? So let's take a little bit of break from that, and then we'll get the movie ready and we'll do that.